This podcast was previously called Business from Within, but one of the biggest things I know in my life, and the lives of people that I've coached and even my mentors, if you're not aligned 100% with what you're going to do, things just don't go as smoothly. Things are a little bit tougher. I got to tell you, I think we've done 40 episodes as the Business from Within podcast, and I realized 90% of the results we see with working with people come from within. So many people become victims by saying, I need something outside of myself to fix myself, when the answer is in who you are, in yourself. You have the answer. And you know what? Dealing with relationship coaching, dealing with business coaching, at the end of the day, my heart aligns with from within more than it aligns with business from within. And I'd encourage you to ask yourself, where am I not aligned? And I'm going to tell you right now, when you're aligned, you can go 10 times farther, 10 times faster, and it doesn't feel like work. Business from Within podcast has been a lot of fun, but now it's called From Within. And it now touches the lives of people all over the place. Rather than just focusing on business, it's truly a catalyst for your life, your business, and relationships. Thanks for listening. Hey guys, Ben Osterveld here from the Business from Within podcast. We've got Dr. Scott Jurica here. He is he's a doctor that's not a typical doctor. He is from Austin, Texas. He's got offices in Texas, New York City, and his mission statement is really cool. And it's so simple. I think we complicate the crap out of everything. And I like how it's done. It says to help as many people as possible through the latest natural therapies and lots of common sense. So Scott, did you come up with that?
No. I almost everything I stole from a lot of my mentors that I have to give credit to, because I in this kind of industry, so many phenomenal doctors that I've learned from. So yeah, no, I take here, I take there, I kind of
I love it. Whatever aligns to you, right?
Yes.
So you believe what you put on there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because in this industry, that it gets too complicated. With Dr. Google and with we are on information overload. And so it's like, one day you read eggs are good, one day you read eggs are bad, then this is good, this is bad. And it's I tell my patients a lot when they ask me about, well, is something good or bad, I usually tell them maybe, which is not a good thing, but it all depends on the person. It depends on where they are and what they need and what they resonate with and what their lab tests show and all that. So that's why it's like, keep it simple, a lot of common sense.
And what you're saying is why I'm so intrigued. I really like what you do, because it's custom. It's not like, you also are not full of yourself like a lot of people that are doctors and things. You're really down to earth, honest guy. You remember how we met?
Oh, absolutely.
Down in Mexico?
Down in Mexico.
Yeah, we were. What do you think? Wow, you were coming down as a guest speaker to our private coaching group we had going on.
I tell you, it was one of the coolest times in my life, mainly because I was actually the patient that just left. I told her I was doing this podcast, and I'll never forget. Don't mean to throw you on the bus a little bit, but you were one of the last people to get all the lab tests to me. And I don't think you ever responded to my email. So I thought out of everybody, I was like, this Ben guy just has zero desire to do this kind of work, which is fine. And I've had that where, I work with people and say, look, we'll just do whatever. And I introduced myself and did everything on at the beach. And then that night, came and sat down, and I remember you introduced yourself, and the first thing you told me was, what kind of impact do you want to make on this world? That was your question to me. I was like, I hadn't even sat down in my chair yet. And I was like, and I knew right then, and it was sincere. You were being very genuine about it, but you were authentic, and you were, it was just a very like, okay, I know where this weekend's going to go, just from that openness and sincerity of saying, hey, we're here to make a difference in this world. In whatever field everybody, is in. So yeah, no, I will,
cool, man.
I will forever forget that.
I'm glad you shared that. I didn't even remember like half the stuff I say, probably just So, but I guarantee you when I did say that, it was genuine. And because I think there's so many conversations happening out there that are just like, sometimes I'm just going to jump in, right? Yeah. Sometimes they're like, hey, how's the weather? How's Austin? Great. Let's talk for 20 minutes and then get real. Like I think sometimes we can cut to the chase.
Absolutely.
Or at least give it a shot. And then if it doesn't work, we'll start with some stuff.
But you were being truthful because you weren't drinking yet. So you're good.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? That was a cool time though. I met you and you were a little bit like to have a guy fly in. It was with Phil McKernan's trip. And it was, it was cool. You're in what's the word? Kinesiology?
Gestapa?
No, kinesiology. Oh. What is the?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's I kind of
so the kind of also talk about keeping things simple. I do a lot of kinesiology, a lot of applied kinesiology, and also when you Google that, there gets to be 300 different things, and most of them are wrong. But it's using a lot of functional nutrition and looking at different pain patterns on the body and all the stuff that we did, where it's like if you have a certain ache and pain in a certain area, it might be related to a certain organ, it might be related to a certain acupuncture, it might be related to a spinal thing. So doing things very specific in that way, that the body's going to tell you what you need as long as you listen to it. So I use a lot of that, and then I get into all my fun, functional testing. I
remember when you were
tests and all that.
Yeah, well, totally. I want to talk about that for sure. Yeah. I remember laying on this massage bed, and we're here, and you grab my leg or something, and you're like, he's like, you almost identified a knee injury that I've had before I even told you, and that was really cool. And that's when I kind of thought, I like this guy too. So he's a magic man. But anyways, right. Do you remember the second time we met was at another Philip McKernan event? It was pretty freaking cool, man. Hey, Box
California. Heck yeah.
In the LA. What dome is that? That's the
Rose Bowl.
The Rose Bowl. Holy smokes, like 100,000 people at the U2 concert. Wasn't that wicked?
Insane. It was another just incredible moment.
No doubt. That was fun. We hung out there and just chill. So, but anyways, the one thing I remember though is that you sent me a note. This is what I was at the time, I don't know how many years ago that was now. It actually goes by pretty quick, but I was not as systemized as I am now. I'm very much have my businesses running on their own mostly. But when you sent me this list of like every blood test you possibly could imagine, plus I don't even know like if you would have taken a skin sample or something. I don't know. But so I looked at this and I thought, crap, how am I going to get this done? Because I was doing too many things in my business that I should have had outsourced. And so I got that. I finally went in, got it done, and usually it's last minute. And I banged it out, but it was interesting, and this is a theme that a lot of people went through. So Scott, you look at the blood at a different level than doctors, and then I'm going to go back to how the doctors responded here.
Yeah. So when you look at blood tests, and I tell anybody who is listening, when you look at blood tests, the blood test values that you see are what's called a reference range. And it's exactly that. It's a reference. And what it is a pooled average of people that come in. And so what I tell patients is how many people come in healthy anyway. And what you've seen over the past few years is these blood values start to broaden. And one of them being liver enzymes, which is, liver enzymes get really taxed with a lot of medication. Those numbers actually started to get more and more broad just as of a few months ago.
Interesting.
So if
everybody's sick, if everyone has the level of sickness and you come in and you're okay, you're in that range, you're now the new normal. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much. And so when you look at ideal levels, and I know in Canada you have more of the international units. So the example like with the vitamin D, I think you might use the same ones, but
there's so many countries listening, it's going to be
okay. So we'll just use any kind of number. If a blood test shows 30 to 100, that's the range. What the ideal range for that can be, like for one of them would be 70 to 80. So you can go to your doctor, and this is nothing against, I work with a lot of medical doctors all over the world, but we're just taught, we're there, that when that reference range, when it's out of reference range, it means there's a physical disease. This is like, there is something really going on. Well, I don't want my patients to get to that level. So then I look at things much more narrow to say, is it an ideal level or not? And if not, why?
So not a safety level.
Yeah, much more proactive, much more, and you can get into their symptoms. So they're going into, they're feeling fatigued and they're not digesting well and that stuff. And they go to the doctor and the doctor says, well, your blood tests are normal. They come to me and I say, well, they're not normal, they're in reference range. Let's look at it much more ideally. And I say, oh, are you not digesting well? Are you like some of the stuff I would tell you or the others, are you not digesting well? Do you, tired at 2 p.m., Well, this is what your blood tests are showing because they're not in ideal range. So it helps patients make sense of it, that it's not all in their head. It's like, wow, I feel like crap, but my doctor says I'm fine, but I'm not fine. And so starting at that level is one of the best ways, because there's so many tests that you can do that are simple, from the cholesterols to the vitamin D's to the things like that.
That's the list you gave me.
Yeah, exactly. We'll look at that first, work on you, and see how you do. And if down the road, in 2 or 3 months, if you're not where you want, or getting to where you want to be health-wise, some people can take a lot longer, then you can start doing some more of these fancier tests.
Cool.
So that's how I kind of
That's cool. Yeah. So it's very much about, I love that analogy. There's the doctor norm, which is an average, and then there's yours going, well, that's good, but there's also an optimal norm.
Exactly.
And it's like, let's look at that. And I think that's the proactive, because I think what you're saying is, and what you've taught me is, doctors react and they want to solve the disease.
Yeah.
And if you're not quite at that disease, you have like, you're stressed out a little bit. They'd go, oh, you're just a bit stressed. You would say, look, we've got some things that are going to progress into this if you don't deal with the stress. Is that kind of the example?
Pretty much, and then to take it another step further, it's like, if people come in with these higher levels, where let's say their cholesterol is really high, or they're this and that, there's two different aspects. There's like, well, I want to do things naturally. I don't want to get on medication. Okay, let's do that. Or I have it, last night I actually had a patient where you have to also respect the patient. I mean, the patient hires me, not the other way around. So it's like, hey, I'm going to, whatever reason, I want to be on this medication. I'm like, because I can't legally say to take it or not. What I do and say, okay, well, let's look at the medication and let's see if there's side effects. Let's see if there's vitamin and mineral deficiencies, and let's work with your doctor to minimize those. And then let's work on everything around it so that we can eventually get you off that medication. Because what doctor would not want to say, hey, you don't need this medication anymore? How great would that be? And so there's always a way to work with a patient on whatever level, looking at these lab tests, whether they're in that range or they're out of that range, and however it is they want to work.
That's cool.
Within it.
Man, you must create a lot of aha moments with your patients.
It can. They're the ones that like all of us, even myself, we've had some conversations about health that, some people just aren't ready to do certain things. Other ones, absolutely. I had a patient, very specifically, when did all the blood tests came in, and I just pointed out, wow, your gut lining is really messed up. You're, you got some, need some more digestive enzymes, your muscle tissue's breaking down, all these kind of things. And he's like, well, how did you mean you see that on the blood test? He hadn't even talked to me about it. And so he'd been on acid-stopping medication for, at least 10 years. Wow. And so there's a lot of research that it can inhibit different minerals to be absorbed. It can cause the stomach lining to be thinned out. And so we reversed things, and it took some time to do it. But that was a huge aha moment that it's like,
it's a great example.
I didn't know you could see it that way. And also I didn't know there was any other way to do it.
Yeah. So I bet you that's huge, right? Yeah. Is that we're just bombarded with the, there's so much money in the industry of medicine and pharmaceuticals and things. Like, it's not like, it's not like a health company is hammering as much advertising out as those guys,
That's exactly right.
It's a limited awareness. I think you got to hunt it out a little bit. So when I went and got my tests done, I went to the doctor and I said, hey, look, I'm going on a health retreat, and we're going to just I just need to get these blood tests, and I just need the results. And he looks at me like, like what? And so anyways, I kind of got a bit of a skill. I got what I wanted.
Yeah.
God, Mike, I talked to him. I'm like, look, like, it doesn't matter to you. Just just giving. So it's a bit of resistance. You know, like, anyways, I came back and to pick up my results, I sit with the guy. And I sit, like, a nice guy. Like, I really like this doctor. Super great guy. Sit down and he's like, yeah, nothing's wrong with you, Ben. So that's what he says to me. Nothing's wrong with you. You've got good levels. You're all within, you know, within the range. And yeah, no, it's, you're a pretty healthy guy. And so I was like, okay, great. Give me the results. I go see you and you see, you're stressed out. I'm like, what? What is the thing that you say? What is the thing that we need to be careful of when it comes to stress? Because that's the one thing that you hit me with. And I was like, whoa. You're like, yeah, I can see you have, what was it again?
Just adrenal stress. You know, those are your glands that get affected by that. And yeah, I tell you, that is the number one thing that affects all of us. You know, including myself. And just like what I even told you and told patients, it's not like I'm going to tell you to stop working. I'm not going to tell you to stop traveling or do those kind of things. But, you know, as far as what to do for that stress, I mean, there's so much to do. But it also, you know, talk about being simple. You know, one of the number one things, and this one of the things I tell my patients is, the number one thing you got to think about as far as your stress levels is what is going on inside your brain. What are you thinking about? What are you, I mean, you could be we could be sitting right here and you could be thinking about 500 different things you got to do, and your wife is doing this and doing that. And there's a saying, as you go in the mind, you go in the body. And so when you're thinking about those things, your heart can be racing, your cortisol can be elevating, all these things that mean that your body can get more stressed. And so what I tell patients is, whatever it is that you're thinking, would you be okay with posting that on your social media? You know, God, I can't believe I'm doing this, or why am I beating up myself? And why, you know, I can't believe I said this, or what, I'm so pissed off. You know, I mean, it's just, we have over 20,000 thoughts in our head. So we just we're inundated with that. So when you do that, your stress levels go through the roof. You don't digest well. You don't sleep well. You start gaining weight. You're angry all the time. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And while there's many levels, you can Google adrenal stress, find a ton of stuff. The number one thing is what's going on, you know, in our mind, and how we're processing stuff, and things you can do both with yourself, as well as, you know, possibly using some different herbs or things like that. But that's the number one thing is your internal, you know, thought process.
I actually wanted to ask you that. I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask you that is when someone comes to you, like, how much of it is like the herbs or the medication or whatever versus the mind and the emotional, where, like, if you had to pick which one is more like, if you fix the mind and the emotional stuff versus fixing the you know, I guess the symptoms that you're going through. I guess I feel like I'm not saying it correctly, but what is more influential in the human?
You know, I have a lot of patients with very good diets that are on a ton of supplements that still feel like crap, because they're going all the time. You know, the body doesn't know the difference between good and bad stress. So they're, you know, busy, and they're working 80 hours a week, and they're doing this and they're doing that. And it's like, but, you know, why am I not where I want to be? They will improve. It's very important that you have the right gasoline, you know, that you're eating well. But you're just not going to get to that level if you don't support your body, you know, with the stresses and emotions. You know, talk about with guys, you know, guys don't have emotions, right? It's like, I can handle all this. And so you got to say to, like, how are you handling your stress? What are you doing? It's like, oh, I can handle it. I can get through it. Well, yeah, you can get through it, but then you can also have a heart attack. You know,
it's almost like their norm, right? Yeah. They're used to, so if you're stressed at 150 for a number, you drop her down to 130, you're killing it. But then you're still, that's been my story, man. Like, I'm like 180 miles an hour. I drop her down to 120. I'm like, gee, I'm killing it. But really, if you look deeper, and that's where the blood comes in, you're pretty stressed out. I'm like, compared to last couple of years, this is nothing. So I'm on a constant journey that way as well. And I think that's what people come in and use that reference.
Yep. Yeah. It's good to say, you know, I'm not an alarmist. I'm not like, oh my gosh, you're going to, you know, this is whatever, you know, what your body can create, it can heal. I'm a true believer of that. And that we're all in this journey. Even, you know, myself, you know, are all of my blood tests going to be ideal? Do I not think negatively sometimes? Well, no. I mean, that we're all in that process, and working on the mind and understanding where, just like a high-end athlete has to take time to repair and heal and sleep and rest. If an athlete were to work out 7 days a week, 4 hours a day, never get enough rest, they're going to get injured.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to happen. So why do we think we're any different in our business world, that if we don't do that we're not going to be injured in some way?
Totally. And honestly, that's one of the biggest shifts over the last 10 years for me I think I have to say some of my greatest successes are from taking 3 times a year, going on a cool adventure, doing some challenging self-reflective work, like not just a holiday, but like to really purposely go away.
Yeah.
And I think that's been, I honestly, I'm going to be probably starting my own called From Within. And it's going to be a mastermind of business owners that go away 3 times a year. Do an adventure, have fun, and escape and challenge ourselves. But
that's wonderful,
because it's been probably the secret behind everything. There's so much good knowledge, but this, like you were just saying, the rest and the time away, like there's something, and I value that more than the average guy. And I think especially guys that I work with are A-type personalities. It's like, dude, you got to understand this is actually the fastest way to move forward.
You are, I could not agree more, that if we were to take that time and reflect and just, idle it down a little bit so that you kind of see the big picture, you can see so much more. And like you said, truly get there faster.
Yeah. You should have a t-shirt that says idle it down a little bit.
There you go.
Idle it down. That would actually be pretty cool. That'd be a good slogan. Dr. Scott.
I like it.
Yeah. Idle it down a little bit. Idle it down a bit. Yeah.
I like it.
So, I love your perspective on health. I got a couple of things here. I know one of the most popular diets in the world right now is the keto diet.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give me your opinion on it? Good, bad, ugly? Is it what you like it, dislike it?
Sure. I'll give you my answer. I usually give for everything is maybe.
Yeah. And we'll move on.
But yeah, exactly. The next question. No, but it's kind of like, first thing, like when you look at like anything, but let's just stick with keto. You can do anything wrong. And so when you look at the word, keto and being ketogenic and looking at eating higher fats, first and foremost, you got to make sure that if you decide to do it, that it's the quality of fats. It's not going and buying, the conventional butters and the corn-fed beef. There's other inflammatory markers. There's a whole thing. So when you look at it from what you're wanting to do, if you're wanting to do it that way, you got to follow it from the system where things have to be from a high quality. That's the first thing. The other thing is, what I always tell patients, because I do have a lot of people come in and ask about that, I always have to ask them what their goals are. Now, everybody's going to say, right, I want to lose weight. I want to feel better. Yeah. Okay, but what else? Once you get there, what else do you want? Is it because you want to have, more time with your family? You want to watch your kids grow up. You don't want to have Alzheimer's or whatever. There's got to be something deeper to get to this point, because what happens is, whether it's a keto diet or whatever, people end up getting bored. It's just going to happen. Oh, I miss my food. I miss my this. I wish I could get that burger again. So there's always the purpose behind any kind of diet. And so when you look at the keto, there's a lot of great research behind it. And even more so to kind of back it up about research, looking at how our ancestors ate, looking through the winter time, there wasn't a lot of fruit. There wasn't a lot of things at that time. So from a ketolytic standpoint, especially in the fall and the winter time, makes a lot of sense, because we can, we genetically, our bodies can burn both fat and carbs. And so many times we never even get a chance to burn a lot of that fat because we're, eating so many carbs. Yeah. So, there's a lot of benefit to it. I don't see a harm in people, people trying it. I think it's a great way. It helps with the mind. It helps with all those things. But what I tell patients is, if you start on it and you start to feel like crap, or from loose stools, I there's not anything that I haven't been either told or asked about with patients. It's the why. People who don't have a gallbladder, who you need it to be able to digest your fats, might not do as well. Or what if they have a sluggish gallbladder? Or what if their hormones are off? You might need to do some other stuff first before you start getting into a keto diet. Balance out your inflammatories. Look at your relationship with food. If you are, you can also go very keto and do ketogenic muffins all day. Well, that's not what
fat
we're
bombs all day. That's
about.
the way I do
exactly.
it. That's what I'd like to do. Just go fat bomb keto muffins.
Yeah, exactly.
Keto brownies,
bulletproof coffee, and
bulletproof, just 6 bulletproof coffes a day, and I guarantee that's going to work.
Exactly. And so, and nothing against any of that, because I use it and I do it all and I recommend all that. But it's also the principle. It's like, where are your goals? What are you doing, and how are you going to do it?
Yeah.
And if you are needing to drink 6 cups of coffee a day, there's probably a reason that we need to balance that out first.
So when you deal with people, it's got to be custom then, right? Like everything has to be customized in some level, right?
Yeah.
Depending on their situation, their body, and do people like let's just say, for example, you need to take a bunch of vitamin D, and that's good for everyone, or maybe someone's not good with vitamin D. Like, is there like our bodies do things differently with different things?
Well, to not get too complex, I mean, there's even genetic testing to see how well your body absorbs things. So that's a whole other aspect. So look at it from the standpoint of lab testing. Look at those kind of things. Okay, because of our stress levels, that's one of the reasons why we need so much vitamin D, as well as if you're living somewhere where you are, the sunlight in the wintertime, that kind of just happens.
Yeah.
And then when and everybody is going to have a custom level. If you have, and they've done studies like this where everybody gets on the same kind of diet, same kind of athletic aspects, whatnot, and they do all the blood work. Why is it different?
Wow. Yeah.
Cool. There's so many other things going on. Their life, how are they sleeping? How are they doing whatnot? So yeah, there's definitely there's one part that's customized. There's kind of two parts. There's a really like customized, and then there's a really like simplified part of it too, where it's like, okay, don't eat crap food, right? Eat as many great vegetables as you want, especially within season. Know your farmer. Whatever kind of proteins that it's like. Do you like fish? Do you like chicken? Do you like eggs? Do you like whatever? Go for those. If you're wanting to do more vegetarian and doing more legumes, how do you feel with that? And I have patients come in saying, "Oh, I want to be a vegetarian." Okay. If that's what you really are resounding with, that you're, no pun intended, you want to go with your gut. It's like, I really want to do this. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's do this. And then let's start looking at the blood, and let's start looking at your symptoms and start looking at stuff. If you're feeling really good, as one of my other mentors said, you could be a vegetarian. You just got to be a really smart one. And so you got to be careful. Being vegan, that's another story that gets much more complicated stuff. But the point about this is that yes, everybody's different. That we have an aspect of, we all know not to eat ding dongs and cupcakes and all this kind of stuff. But then as we start to strip out the body and go back to what our if the 100-year rule really even.
Got a bit of a draw here. Something's connection is losing here. Just a sec. Oh, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Little skip.
Little skip there. We'll edit that out. So, okay, cool. Well, you know what? I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Do you believe in miracles?
Absolutely.
Okay. I just had this gut today to ask you about miracles.
Okay.
Just a little bit of a left field thing because I think about it, and I've personally seen them. I know people that have experienced them. Mm-hmm. Like, we're talking people that had full cancer, completely gone and healed, mm-hmm. like no explanation. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what is that? And what's your view on miracles? And maybe just talk around that a bit. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are.
Sure. I've never been asked that, so that's really good.
It's one of those the gut move. I thought, oh man, I'm asked about that. I never asked that question either, by the way.
Good. We are such a. I'm only going to speak my opinion.
This is just business from within. So this is just your. But I guarantee you, there's millions of people with similar opinions, and a lot of people don't have the guts to talk about truth.
One of the things I love about sleeping at night is I fully believe I go somewhere else. I think that we are just this earth and where we are in this this little planet and this cosmos. There is so much more out there that we have no idea what's going on. And when you look at, without getting too techy, about like the electromagnetic spectrum, for instance, I mean, what we can see, touch, smell, feel, and taste is only less than 1/1,000,000th of a reality. I mean, there's so little to that, you know, you've got, whether, you know, I come from a very spiritual background, and so I know there's somebody out there, or some others. There could be many gods. We kind of go through that, but there's so many other powers involved in looking at stuff where the power of prayer and people praying for other people that end up getting a miracle. You know, other people that just simply ask. You know, ask and you shall receive if you're coming from a Christian background. And so, have I wanted miracles for other people? And you know my story with my brother. You know, that I want a miracle for him before he died. Yeah. But it didn't happen. Now, does that mean miracles don't happen? No. You know, there's also another great. My aunt owned a Christian shop forever here in Texas. She always told me, she said, coincidences are miracles in which God chooses to remain anonymous. And so you kind of look at these little miracles and all this kind of stuff, like, oh my gosh, I just happen to be here at this right time. Or I consider even miracles where, you know, you just barely miss getting hit by a car. You know, whatever these things are, you know, I have, you know, there's, if anybody says that there's not a miracle, it's like, well, there's so many things.
There's prove. Actual hard proof. The explanations, they're vast.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you have an example of a miracle that you've witnessed or heard of that you remember?
Oh, let me. You know, personally, like I said, it's all from a lot of small things, just a lot of just things where, you know, finding certain, you know, how I ended up getting our apartment when we were right through the recession, how it happened at the right time, the right place, that ended up being perfect for us. When, you know, talk about being raw, there was a time in my practice where, when the recession hit 2006, I didn't know if I was going to make it through it. It was tough. It was really, really tough. And we had to work for a while out of our house. Yeah. You know, I mean, and so in my opinion, I consider this that miracle that literally it happened. We got this place where it ended up being a beautiful live workspace right in Manhattan, to the point where I remember talking about, when I first moved there, saying I would love to have a live workspace, make it so easy. And I probably said it in passing really quickly.
That's how it happens, man.
I didn't think about it. Yeah, I didn't think about it. All of a sudden, about 2 years later, I'm like, holy crap, here it is. So, you know, I thought that was pretty, there's almost like
you see, that's why people, I think that's where spirituality comes from. Like, there's these weird things, and they explain it. Like, there's got to be a helper, angels, God, or maybe it's flow or the universe. You hear it all, but there's definitely a common theme between everything. And I've told this story on stage before, but it's kind of fitting. Is one day I was driving around, and I take every second of every day, and I usually have it maxed out. and like, meaning, like, the times I'm working, I'm not wasting time. There's so many hours. People are like, how do you get so much done? I'm like I still have evenings.
Why don't you?
I don't like it. It's just been like that all my life, where it's like I don't waste a moment. And if I'm wasting a moment, if sitting there chilling out, my wife keeps calling me here. She's literally at a store. She's like, "What's your suit size?" I'm like, "I'm kind of busy right now, Renee."
Don't trust me. Call me right now.
I'm like, I don't need a suit. Stop. I don't need that. I don't need that. Anyways, I was driving around. I was thinking, I really should be maxing out this time I have right now. And I just had this intense, like, I don't want to do anything. And then I had this second feeling. I'm driving around, like, what do I do? I don't want to work. And then I had this feeling of, like, you know what? I'm going to go shopping. I'm going to buy myself something. I deserve it. And I haven't bought myself in a long time. Like my wife's trying to buy me something. I'm like, I don't need it. But this time I want to buy something. So I drove up to the mall. There's 3 parking spots only out of hundreds. And it's right in front of Pier 1 Imports. Mm-hmm. And I went and there was a spot open there. So I thought, I'll go through Pier 1 Imports to get into the mall, because like, that's a good spot, and then they're never open. So I pull up, I walk into Pier 1 Imports, and all of a sudden there's this pillow that's just screaming at me. Like, whoa, like this pillow. It's like by me. And I'm like looking at it, I'm like, man, Renee would love that.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm like, I go into my head, I'm going to buy her a set. You don't need one pillow. You got to buy a set. And then I go walking around the whole store, and now I'm like ADD, like I'm looking for pillows. Like, what is it going on? I'm looking at these pillows, and I'm like, I couldn't find nothing. I just kept coming back to this one circle pillow with a diamond in it. And I'm like, screw it, I'll buy it. So I bought the pillow. It was like $50 or something. And as soon as it's in the bag, I'm like, I lost my desire to go shopping. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yeah, whatever, this is good enough. Jump back in my car, whatever. Then like I go back to work. It was like this weird moment. Then I go home. And I've got this bag, and I'm kind of like this guy that uses point system with relationships. And I thought this is going to be a lot of points. I don't do that as much anymore because it is a failed system. Trust me, you cannot earn points. But in my mind, I thought I wasn't going to earn points. Anyways, every guy gets that.
Wow.
It's like, Frank, how many points I got? Like, those don't count. They count for me.
Exactly,
Anyways,
exactly.
As soon as I go home, I give her the pillow. I open up the bag, and I pass it to her. Just 1 second. This was hilarious. We're on recording. Renee's called me like 4 times. Just hold on.
That's good.
Hey, Renee, I'm literally recording a podcast right now. Renee, I'm literally recording a podcast right now. It's like a total pocket dial, I think. Okay, there we go. Anyways, keeping it real. Anyways, okay. So I open the bag, give it, and she opens the bag, pulls out the pillow, and she looks at me, and her face just dropped. And I'm like, oh, shoot. Right away, I make it about myself. Right? I'm like, Frank, I screwed this. And I knew I should have got the pair. And she pulls it out, and she says, she starts crying. And she's like, you're not going to believe this, Ben. She goes, what is this? I'm thinking I'm in trouble or something. And she's like, Ben, I was just in the store a couple days ago, and I said a little prayer. And she goes, wow. God, I would really like that pillow.
That's crazy.
And then I was like so humble. I was like, whew, I realized this is not a gift from Ben. I'm just some kind of tool. I'm some kind of messenger. And I went like, holy shit. And these Renee has so many of these stories about, she's like, God hears me. Like when she says that, I'm like, I've been part of it. And so I'm not a hardcore in any religion at all. I'm very much open to whatever, but I definitely know there's this beautiful connection, and I call it flow. When I'm in flow, really cool shit happens. So anyways, I don't mean to take over so much of the podcast. This is about you, but
great. No, I love that. And talking about that, just like what you said about this, for everybody, if we were to know, I think because of all this stuff of this, technology being a blessing and a curse, we can talk right now. It's awesome, but this technology has disconnected us so much that if we could connect to each other more and have that flow, like you said, like really understand the energy that's around us, really understand that when you're talking to somebody, with real estate or myself, it's definitely not about us.
Yeah.
You understand, like, where are they coming from? And even at somewhere in, my wife tends to, will get upset about certain things, like with, somebody being rude, and I've done it too. So I'm not going to say, I'm innocent.
I've never done it.
And you kind of switch it around. You know, that you start looking, and then if you kind of pull back and say, well, what if they just lost their loved one? What if they just lost, and so if we can kind of all do that and look at this, that, this really, your story is not just about a quote pillow. It's about this connection, this saying, we're all in this together. Let's all do what we can for each other. So I cannot agree more with what you said.
That's cool, man. So I got a question on a little bit of a different angle here.
Sure.
I deal with, we do a lot of coaching with women and in relationships and things. And I just want to ask a question. What's the biggest, say, ailment you run into with women's health? If there is an answer, I'm not sure.
Guilt.
Wow.
To be really honest with you, especially with a lot of most of my patients are female. Most of them, I guess, say, are married with kids, and they don't feel. Well, what they're really kind of saying is they don't feel like they deserve or have enough time for themselves.
Wow.
You know, and it's like, and I tell them, and it's hard to say because like I tell them, it's like to really have them understand. It's like, you know, many times you probably have 2 or 3 jobs. You know, you're a wife, have to take care of the husband, because the husband, we can't do anything usually.
No, I need that.
Taking care of the kids.
Yeah.
And then they have a full-time job. I mean, you
so
can have
true.
2 or 3 jobs. And I'm like, when I see patients, when I see the women come in here, it's like, no wonder your hormones are messed up. No wonder you can't sleep. You have every right to feel the way you're feeling right now. Is because you put so much pressure on yourselves and have so much that you need to do and want to do, but feel like I can't do that. I've got to pay for this for my
Totally.
son's this, or I've got to do this, I've got to do that. It's like, talk about having your own space. You know, what about, you know, it's one of the things that I do, you know, with my wife and I. Once a month, I leave with my son, and then take my nephew along and take them to my dad's, so that she can have a weekend.
So cool.
Where she doesn't have to worry about any of us.
Yeah.
You know, and initially when she first was doing that, she was like, I feel a little guilty that I want this.
Oh, for sure.
You know, and so I'd say on that, you know, and because with that, and that's where comes all the, you know, the stress and IBS and sleep stuff. Those are the things I see.
Man, that's amazing.
But it's all based on the guilt.
So you're saying that, like, if you went back to the source of all of these other symptoms, you're saying it comes from guilt. And so what you're saying, I'm just wondering, so I'm such a pattern reader, and I'm thinking, so if you create a pattern saying, if you go away, create space, would that raise their personal value?
Yeah.
Would that lower their stress? Would that, like, it's almost like, instead of taking the medication, just go take a holiday on your own, though.
Yeah.
Or just take a weekend away, shut things down. That would be something you could tell women to do.
Yeah. I even tell them, it's like, if you can't do that, do it where your husband, you know what, every Thursday night, you're going to go see a movie.
Yeah.
You're going to go for a walk. It doesn't even have to be about something you have to buy. But the number one thing is for especially women to not feel guilty about it. You know, or the husband or the partner to not make them feel guilty about it.
Yeah, which is like, well, I'll help you out this time, but
exactly.
Yeah.
And I'll ask them too, when we talk about these things, how receptive will your spouse or partner or a significant other be? Because that's going to be important. Because I don't want them, oh well, yeah, there you go again. You know, it's like, no. We got to make sure we work together. And a lot of times they're really, really good.
Yeah, what I've noticed too is when I've seen, like, myself even going away, or even seeing my wife, she'll go away once in a while, comes back. Like, she is a better mom, better lover, totally into me. All of a sudden, it's just like the overwhelming things are just not there. Like, if that's as easy as it is, no, we love each other. We give each other that time. And I think that's part of taking people on adventures and going away, is actually the relationship gets grown in the back home. Because it does. Because I remember going away a lot, and you feel so much guilt because Renee's with the kids or whatever. But you know what? That was part of the therapy in a way. You know, I think that's a very powerful. It's very unexpected that you were going to say that. I think that's so cool. So cool.
I didn't know you were going to talk about miracles, so we're even.
Yeah, good. Well, now I want to kind of go deeper. Like, this is good. So, so let me just give me 1 second here.
Oh, sure.
So when I just keep thinking about your brother. I think about your brother. He's passed away, right? And would you be willing to share a little bit around that, or is that too close to home?
No.
I just think,
no, go ahead.
I just would like to have people be okay when they listen to the show, that there's a little bit more depth than just interviewing an amazing doctor. And I think that the within part is really the story behind who we are. And I think it's a big part of who Scott is. Sure.
Interesting enough, he died as of 2 years ago, as of Monday, September 4th, he died. And when it happened, you know, when Shannon is his name, when he died, 5 months later, well, actually just about a few weeks after that, my uncle, who was like a
got a little bit of a skip. A little bit of a skip here. Just try that again.
Sure. About when Shannon died, it was about I don't know, just a few weeks or so that my uncle, who was like a father to me, his cancer came back. He was a survivor for a few years. And then he died 5 months afterwards. So we had these two huge funerals. And I tell you, and we know we talked a little bit about this in California. I didn't initially. I was taking it really well. Like, wow, this is such a gift. And I know when I said bye to him, when I went to go travel to see him in North Carolina, and I got home because I saw him in middle of August, and then he died a couple weeks later. Always having that hope, what if something can come, and then we got the call. And I just remember one day specific, I was driving. I do a lot of traveling for different patients around the state, and I remember driving there going, he would love to be able to do this. Like, just he was in so much pain, and so I was in this very euphoric, like very grateful, and then once Gordon, my uncle, died, I kind of went, to be honest, didn't really know what kind of purpose it was anymore. I got to the point like, does this what I do even matter? Does any of this matter if we're all just going to die? And what does that even mean? I mean, I went like this dark, just deep, here I am being this, holistic doctor or whatever, and kind of let you know that, we all experience it. And I had quite a moment of, I just didn't know what I was going to do, and I was just super knowing, looking back, just how I was sad. I was angry. I was angry at myself. I was like, why couldn't I have done anything to help? Like, couldn't I have, done this? And so that where it's like, does any of this even matter? And, then everybody's dying of all this stuff. And so, it took me down a dark path. Even, we were talking about that in California.
Yeah.
I just, even with, my diet is very good. My diet was changing. I was just like, this doesn't matter, And then all of a sudden, where I was like, even my wife was kind of talking about, it's like, whatever this is, I understand that you're going through this, but we've got to change some stuff. And that's when I went and saw one of my dear friends in New York when I was seeing patients there to do some of this neuroemotional kind of work to kind of reset some stuff and kind of do some things. And it definitely restarted that kind of that trigger of, then I kind of spun it around to say, if I don't live my life to the fullest, if I don't enjoy every second, if I don't, follow my heart, then, both of their deaths are in vain. And that's how I've kind of set up right now with people, and still not perfect, but like when things are like, this traffic sucks, or this, whatever, it's like, if I can continue to bring myself back, like, is it really bad? Is it really bad when, my brother was a big old burly, just country kind of guy, and he was about 6 foot 260 or so, just a big mechanic, right? Just this strong, you could lift anything, right? And within he was diagnosed in May and died in September. So he died in 4 months.
Holy smokes.
And when I saw him, he was in a wheelchair on a ventilator. So I go from my big brother being this, this strong, always annoying, right? The brothers always annoy each other. But, going through all this stuff, and then literally laying next to, he was in the hospital type bed. The hospice had already come. And I was sleeping on the couch next to him so that his girlfriend could get more sleep when she had to work. So I would hear this all night, that oxygen going on. And it was just this surreal, like, it was just a few months ago that he was his normal kind of self. And so, so that it was just, so now it's like, I just really hope and want to stay where I'm at, like this level of try to always just kind of focus on the appreciation
So if your brother was here today, what word of advice would he give you?
Don't think so much. Don't, stress out so much. That's my biggest weakness is I overthink everything.
Yeah,
So that's he always called me knucklehead. He was like, knucklehead, just stop that. Just stop doing that.
Wow.
So, just be right in the moment and, that's it. That's really all that matters. So
that's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. I think, I love what you do. I love who you are. I think I love to be able to show a little bit more of Scott to the world. I think it's really cool. I want to do a few questions, more of a lightning round.
Sure.
Kind of fun, a little get to know Scott.
Sure.
And have a little fun here. So I'm going to ask you questions and just shoot me an answer. Okay. What makes you proud?
My son.
I want to ask why.
Oh.
Lightning round, it means that we usually go quickly, but I want to ask why does he make you proud?
Everything about him. I just, like my brother never got to have a son. Didn't have I love my father and he has changed a lot, but when I was growing up, it was just, I didn't really get like a lot of that attention. Yeah. So I mean, I see him and I just like, it all just makes sense.
Yeah, I totally get that. That's a lucky son right there.
Yeah,
lucky son to have your dad. What's one thing you'd never be caught wearing?
A thong. I'm just going to say whatever comes out. So
yeah.
Way too uncomfortable.
Funny. I've got a thong story, but I'm not going to tell you. Okay, so that'll be off camera.
Okay.
No. That needs to be on camera. I'm just not going to share it now. What's your favorite comfort food and why?
Oh, pizza.
No doubt, hey?
It's the perfect food. Everything about it is perfect. So I love, yeah.
So what type? Thin crust?
Pepperoni. New York style.
New York style. Is that the bend in half style?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's
your hand. Yeah.
Wow, man, we need to have some pizza. I'm flying in. We're going for pizza.
There we go.
Yeah. So what's the best gift someone has ever given you?
Best gift. God, it was a lightning round. I'm trying to think.
Doesn't have to be the ultimate one.
Yeah. My mom, for my graduation in college, chiropractic school, gave me my great-grandmother's handwritten note. She was a midwife.
Wow.
And so I got to see all of her different tinctures and all her different things. That was cool. And it's like in there and all the stuff that's like, all the cool new way stuff. Yeah. They were doing that at the beginning. So that was awesome.
I love nostalgic stuff like that. Just love it. My wife, it's my birthday right away here. My wife, it just drives her crazy because I'm like I literally can buy whatever I want and I'll just probably end up getting something. And she's like, what can I get you? I'm like, and I'm the worst. I'm like, I don't know. I don't care. But it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. The stuff that has meaning to it is so much more valuable.
Much. Totally. How about this? If humans came with a warning label, what would it say?
Stay away.
Stay away from humans.
I say that from a warning kind of thing that, we got to reconnect. We got to reconnect because there's too much divisiveness. There's too much, we're the only species that's been screwing up things. No other. Yeah. We're polluting our earth. I mean, there's a lot of positive, right? There's a lot of good stuff that's happening. It just needs to happen more. So.
Interesting. Meaning the warning sign would be like, hey, careful, I'm not going to connect with you.
Exactly. Yeah. But tread lightly.
You tread lightly. How about this? If you were to have I love asking this question. A couple of times I've asked it. If you were to develop a scratch and sniff sticker, what would the picture be and what would the smell be?
Scratch sniff. Definitely vanilla ice cream. It's the best smelling thing ever.
No way.
The picture, I'm not even thinking anything creative.
You're like a cone.
Just a big, happy, chubby kid with a big cone. I think it's a great little scratch.
Nice. It's kind of weird though, scratching a little kid and sniffing it. It's a little weird, but
like vanilla.
We'll leave it. Okay, whatever you want, man. So let's see, what drains your energy?
What drains my energy? My mind. You know, that's still something I've got to work on. I spin. It's like, okay, calm this down, and then that's
okay. What calms your mind down?
Getting out of my mind.
What calms your mind down?
To be honest, one of the best things is start about 7 o'clock at night. My phone goes into another room.
Wow.
And it's one of the best. I use this as a gate, you know, and I want to control the gate. It's like, I tell the patients, it's like, if there's an emergency, you're going to need to call somebody else, you know, because I'm just not going to have it because I need that break. So that's the thing that really kind of calms me.
Love that idea. Love that idea.
Yeah.
What is one of your bad habits?
Bad habits. I have them, so I'm not trying to say I don't have them. The keep on saying with the I'm definitely not as organized as like I leave too much stuff around. You know, it's something I'm a Virgo and I'm supposed to be more organized. And I was doing work last night and my wife was like, how do you have so much crap around here? So that's something. It's like you said 2 years ago, your energy was better or was worse. That was a lot worse before, but yeah, I still like I don't ever make my bed ever. And she just,
that's interesting. So last question: what blows your mind?
Sunsets. I think when I just think about like listening to everything, like really just being present. There's so much overwhelming things that you like when you just kind of when we can all do that more. It is overwhelming. It's just kind of like you see so much that's going on and how is it all happening at once. So
very cool. I love that. Now we want to wrap this up. I'm thinking some very practical tips from a health, like if you were to sit there and you got like a couple minutes and to give as many as good practical health tips that you can do, could you shoot some key things that people need to be doing right now to increase their health?
If whether you are with your family or just by yourself, take your time to eat your food, chew your drink and drink your food is a little saying. If you're with the family, get off your phones, get at a table. I know there's football games and this and that. I get that, but as much as you can, even if it's once or twice a week, reconnect with that. Breathe. We sniff our air. Take time to actually take deep breaths in. Look up stuff about breathing exercises. We talk about so much about water. We talk about this. We don't get enough air.
Interesting.
Definitely, if you are not sleeping well, there's got to, I don't know, right next to air, there's nothing that's more reparative for our bodies and our souls is to be able to get quality sleep. It doesn't have to be like, it'd be great to always have 8 hours and whatever, but when you sleep, you got to sleep hard. If you're tossing and turning, you've got to do that. Know your farmer like you know your doctor. Really find out where your food comes from. Not like you can always do it. I mean, but as much as you can to really inspect. If you can even grow some of your own stuff, even if it's some herbs in your house, something where you can actually take part in this and know what you're growing and knowing what you're doing, would be phenomenal.
That's cool. That's cool, man. That's such good advice. It almost sounds like your philosophy. You know what I mean? It almost sounds like we just wrapped up like what you do for a business in a way. You know what I mean? Now let's tell people how they can get involved. What's really cool is that you're fully online if you want to be, right? You do a lot of online coaching. It's not location based.
Correct.
Even though you do some local, obviously that's how. So if you get your blood work done anywhere in the world, you get the results, you ship it to Scott, and he will do a session with you as an intro session. And then from that point on, he can actually go through and start working with you and hitting goals. And why don't you tell a little bit more about that? That's my viewpoint.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, that's exactly, we could do, to be honest, do exactly that, where you're going to, analyze everything, get a whole treatment plan where you look at the labs, look at your stress levels. There's a whole assessment that I do where you'll look at, how you're sleeping, how you're pooping, it's like everything.
Yeah.
And then really come in with a good program with, I'm not about having people on 35 different supplements. I really try to be very specific that's based on them. Look at their diet, blend all that. And then depending on what else we find, that's what we can work and find other doctors that are close to you, whether you need some body work, whether you need some, whatever it may be, so that we all just work together on this team, so that we get started on that. And then we can just do, typically, I have patients do it where it's like, monthly follow-ups, seeing how you're doing. Some people need more help, they need more guidance, and that's totally fine. So that will all kind of depend on when we meet, as far as how frequently and how to go from there.
And I think honestly, it's not even that much money, to be honest, to start. And the second thing is, even if it was just the intro, I highly recommend anybody to just engage with Scott. It's been a huge aha moment. If you don't want to face your reality, then don't meet with him, because you're going to look inside your life, which is really, really important.